Hello and welcome to Smaulgld. In case you missed it, top gold and silver stories for the week ended July 22nd, 2017. Samsung to recover silver and gold from its smartphones. Samsung is following Apple in recovering precious metals from its used phones. Also, Federal Reserve's Fast Payments Task Force analyzes the viability of FedCoin. And citizen-created scriptural euros captured a Bank of Italy's attention. Bitcoin soared about $1,000 per Bitcoin as BIP91 passes the 80% threshold, possibly avoiding a hard fork. So let's take a look at the top story, and let's start with Apple. Now, there's a lot of talk about how once silver is used in electronics, it's lost forever. First of all, that's not true. We're going to go through, there have been for years recycling efforts that have taken place. Apple's been involved in them. Other electronic companies have been involved in them. And also, we need to understand how much silver we're actually talking about is used in electronics. There are a lot of generalities out there about how useful silver is, how so many products use silver. What they don't tell you is actually how much silver is used in all of these products. So I'll tell you right now, off the bat, that electronics accounts for about 200 million ounces a year, and that includes all electronics: computers, televisions, iPhones, iPads, cell phones, and so on. Now, 200 million ounces sounds like a lot, but the global silver annual production, mining production, is about 850 million ounces. So it doesn't take up all that much. It takes up about a quarter of the annual silver mining production. Now, Apple has been recycling silver, and I've provided links here to two of their environmental responsibility reports. They seem to be recovering silver for the purposes of less for an economic reason and more for the kind of Earth Day sustainable living approach than for the monetary value of what's in the phones. However, in their 2016 report, they noted they recovered about 105,000 ounces of silver from old iPhones and about 35,000 ounces of gold. Now, that's just from their general recovery efforts, working with recycling plants and so on. Also, you can bring your iPhone into the Apple stores now, and they will refurbish it, or they will take it and then extract the precious metals from it. Now, in 2015, they invented Liam, which is a line of robots designed to disassemble 1.2 million phones a year, and it sorts everything out. Now, I've included a video here. You can watch it. It takes a minute. There's Liam. You slap the phone in there, and within a minute, it strips it apart and separates all the pieces of gold, silver, cobalt, lithium, tin, copper, whatever's in the phone, and it separates it so it can easily be recaptured. Now, in 2000, and make sure you watch that. We're not going to watch it together. In 2017, they noted that this Liam robot has the potential to recover aluminum, copper, gold, platinum, silver, tin, rare earth metals, cobalt, tungsten, and tantalum from the phones, up to 1.2 million of them. And they gave what's in every 100,000 iPhone 6 devices. These are the older versions, the ones that'll be coming into disuse. Now, if you take Liam's 1.2 million phones a year, and you figure that in 100,000 phones, there's 0.3 kilograms of gold, well, that's about little less than 10 ounces. Multiply that times 12, because 100,000 times 12 gives you the 1.2 million. They'll recover out of 1.2 million phones about 115, 116 ounces. And that's worth about $150,000 at $12.50 an ounce. So 1.2 million phones has about $150,000 or 115 ounces worth of gold. Not a tremendous amount. Silver, on the other hand, not much bigger, but it does have about 7 kilograms or 225 ounces of gold for every 100,000 phones. So if you did 1.2 million of the iPhones and pulled out all the silver, you'd get about 84 kilograms or 2,700 ounces of silver. or about 5 or 6 monster boxes of silver eagles. Again, not a tremendous amount, 1.2 million phones, 2,700 ounces. And that's worth about $44,000. Again, not big numbers here, but it belies the myth that they can't recycle it. If you watch this Liam in operation, I advise you to do so. You'll see how easy it is actually if you just turn the phones in to strip it out. Now, it's a little more difficult with other electronics possibly, but I'm sure that you can create things that take gold and silver and other precious metals out of the motherboards of computers and other electronics. And of course, they also do recycle them directly from recycling pits. Now these numbers, as I mentioned, they seem small, but they highlight how little silver and gold is actually used in the production of each phone. So I calculated the numbers from I backed out the numbers from the Apple numbers, and basically each phone has about 0.00225 ounces of silver. What does that mean? All right, if you add a 1/10 of an ounce silver round, that's not what's in each iPhone. Not even half of that. Not even a quarter of that. Not even a tenth of an ounce is in an iPhone. It's about 1/45 of a 1/10 ounce silver coin that's in an iPhone. So take that little small 1/10 of an ounce silver round that weighs a tenth of an ounce, looks like a dime. Split that into 45 pieces. You could put one in each iPhone. I didn't even do the numbers for the gold because they are about multiples smaller. So there's like a speck of gold in an iPhone. So that jibes with what the Silver Institute says is in each iPhone. So I calculated according to what Apple said was in their iPhone at about 0.069 grams. And they're saying each cell phone has about 0.05 to 0.25 grams. That's a lot of silver in each iPhone. And they calculated that to be about 2.6 to 13 million ounces of silver per year. Again, so iPhones, all cell phones are not really accounting for a tremendous amount of silver demand. You'll hear demand for phones is exploding. It's great for silver. Not really. I mean, if you're only putting in 0.06 grams in each phone, you make hundreds and hundreds of millions of them, and you're not going to have much of an impact. It's not going to impact silver demand that much. PC, laptop, okay, they have a bit more. They have about 0.3 to 0.5 grams of silver, but they make fewer PCs and laptops than they do cell phones. So that only accounts for 3.5 to 5.8 million. The Silver Institute says, though, that about 200 million ounces of silver is used in all electronics. Now, if you want to get more information on stuff, the real information, not the hype and there's silver buried in a mountain next to your grandmother's canyon. I don't know, all these stories about how valuable silver is and you can't live without it. Those are general statements. You don't get the specific. Silver demand is exploding. What does that mean? Well, if you get the Smaulgld 2017 silver report, I go through all the supply and all the demand that's available, the sources, and how much silver is that we know of is actually used, how much is actually mined, how much is actually recycled, who gets it, which countries import it, which countries mine it, how the mint demand factors into overall demand. You get all that in the Smaulgld Silver Report. Click here, you can get it. It's $20. If you're a patron, it's $15. It's not like a woo-woo or web bot report or something like that where you have to interpret anything. It's just the facts as we know them, and you do with them what you may. Is that going to make you rich? It's not intended to predict anything. And I know that is not that popular. People would rather get something where they can stand on their head and discuss it. And what does this mean? And what does that mean? And, does this mean that Ethereum is going to be an ICO? And I know Ethereum is not going to be an ICO, but I'm just generally talking about, I know what people like. If you're not the type of person who wants just speculation and hype and you just want the facts, this is a report for you. If you want to have stories and you want to have a big discussion and webbot hit left and right, well then this is not the type of report that you want. All right, let's move on. Chart of the week. This shows Saudi Arabia's Treasury holdings. Now, I looked at the United States Treasury report for the last 6 months, and I noticed a trend that goes counter to, again, all the hype that we hear about dumping treasuries, de-dollarization. No one wants the dollar. Dollar is toilet paper. Dollar collapse. And yet, over the past 6 months, there's been a pretty significant increase in foreign holdings of U.S. treasuries. But what was interesting was not only were Russia and China kind of leading the charge in adding treasuries, we've already covered that in prior videos and prior blog posts, was Saudi Arabia. Now, if you remember, in April of 2016, Saudi Arabia made a huge deal over the fact that the United States Congress and Senate they were going to pass a bill, the 9/11 bill. It was going to allow people to sue Saudi Arabia. They threatened to dump their treasuries if that happened. Obama was nervous. Obama vetoed the bill, but Congress passed it anyway. And overwhelmingly overrode his veto. And that was at the end of September of 2016. Well, since at the end of November 2016, Saudi Arabia not only didn't dump treasuries, it significantly added about 40% more. You can see here, 96 billion in October, which was right after the vote, all the way up to 134 billion. Now, I had a quick conversation with Zero Hedge, and he said, well, that's just a function of higher oil prices. And I thought that was a quick analysis. That makes sense. But then I looked at Kuwait and United Arab Republic. They are oil producers. They would benefit from the idea is if oil prices go a bit higher, obviously you're going to get more for your oil. And if you have to take dollars for your oil, you're going to put them in dollar reserves. You're going to buy U.S. treasuries. That makes sense. But we didn't see an increase. United Arab Republic, not United Arab Republic. United Arab Emirates actually declined their treasury securities, and Kuwait went up a few percentage points. So Saudi Arabia, and JC Barak over at Wall Street Formation remarked to me that he thinks maybe they were just shamed into buying them. Yeah, and there is some truth to that, perhaps. I mean, China may be buying treasuries because they don't want to be labeled a currency manipulator by the United States. For all the talk about the Belt and Road Initiative and all the other BRICS initiatives, remember the bulk of the trade in the world is with the United States and its allies, not along the Silk Road. It's not in Kazakhstan, it's not in Tajikistan, it's not in Iran, it's not in all those countries along the Silk Road. They are developing countries. The money to be made now in trade is with Europe, the United States, and its allies. So perhaps Saudi Arabia was, I don't know. You can speculate, but there is a dramatic increase, much more than China and Russia, much more than any of the other BRICS, and on a percentage basis as Saudi Arabia boosted its U.S. treasuries, especially given that they threatened to dump them. Okay, let's take a look at what else we had during the week. There's your invitation to donate to Smaulgld via Bitcoin. You can do so via Litecoin. You could become a patron on Patreon. And you can just send money via PayPal. I do appreciate that. Remember, I do not have the audience size. I probably never will because I don't engage in hyperbole. I don't make predictions. And people seem to like that. That would grow my audience tenfold and my donations as well. So if you like this type of analysis, it's a small audience, but I know it's an acquired taste just to get the facts. But if you like that, please support it. Now, gold closed last week at 1254. It was a good week for gold and silver. They both seem to rebound nicely. Some people suspect that's just the covering of short positions, but silver was up 3.4% for the week, and gold was up 2.1% for the week, and the gold-silver ratio ended still above 75. It was 76.03 to 1. Now, tweets of the week. Again, I just remember this is Mike Maloney, $1,500 silver. And people, they want to believe this stuff. They go, oh yeah, Kool-Aid. They believe it. They defend it. 8 years ago, $1,500 silver. One day, yes, of course, one day. Here we go. Silver 600. COMEX default. Silver shortage. Dollar collapse. Elite are losing control. Again, people want to believe this stuff. You'll see. $600 WebBot hit. I don't know. I don't report that way. COMEX default. Someone's standing for delivery. The same tired stories over and over again. And the worst thing about them is the predictions have generally been wrong for 8 years. Another one that we keep hearing is when confidence is lost, people will return to gold and silver. You know what this one is? This is Mark Dice trying to give away or sell a gold coin for a ridiculously low price. How is confidence going to be gained by putting gold and silver back into a system when people prefer the chocolate bar to the silver bar and won't pay $50 for a $1,500 gold piece? They don't know what it is. It doesn't give people confidence gold. And it's certainly the central banks that we have today. They're not interested in gold and silver. They don't want to tie their hands. So the idea that somehow there's going to be a collapse and then there's a reset and gold and silver will play a part, people return to gold and silver. Yeah, if they have a history of it, you have two generations now of guys like this guy. Slurp on his Coke. He sees Snickers. He'd rather back the currency with chocolate than with gold. Again, let's take a look here. So here's the chart I'm talking about with Saudi Arabia. See, they've increased their treasury holding, but so have the BRICS. Here's Brazil. De-dollarization. Well, they're increasing their U.S. Treasury holdings. Here's Switzerland increasing its Treasury holdings. UK Treasury holdings. Another BRIC. India increasing its Treasury holdings. China and Russia, as we saw, increasing their Treasury holdings. So the concept of the dollar is days are numbered. The dollar is toilet paper. No one wants the dollar. I never understood that. Most people get paid in dollars. Most people pay their taxes, pay their mortgage. Whatever money they spend in dollars, and yet they want to denigrate it. And I understand it. It's not an ideal system. Printing a QE, low interest rates, zero interest rates, 20 trillion in debt, 180, 200 trillion in unfunded liabilities. Yes, unsustainable. But that doesn't mean at the current moment that the dollar isn't worth something and that there's no demand for it. All right, what else do we have here? Well, here's something about Bitcoin. Bitcoin, they're trying to say is either a currency or a store of value. It's really neither. It's a speculative asset because if it was a currency, people would be using it. They don't. If it was a store of value, it wouldn't go up $1,000 in a month, in a week, and then go down $1,000 the next week and fluctuate 40% with wildly. Bitcoin is a speculative asset. That's not a cut against it. It's just what it is. Some people like to defend Bitcoin. They try to claim it's everything. It's not volatile. It's still early. It is a currency. Everyone uses it. They don't. It's a store of value. It isn't. It's a speculative asset. What you can say about Bitcoin, and that what is indisputable, is that it's gone up. But that doesn't make it a store of value. Pets.com went up. Amazon went up. That doesn't make them stores of value. That makes them home run speculative assets. Let's look at some of the stories now. We're going to hit that Samsung story as well. Bank of Italy warns against creating your own currency. This is the story I published, got picked up in Zero Hedge. It's the concept of scriptural euros, that basically if a bank can conjure money out of thin air, well then so can citizens, not to go out and buy stuff, but to pay off debts that were incurred by banks, by people who borrowed from banks who basically did the same thing. You go get a mortgage, they just make up the money, they say here you go, there's your money, now you owe me. Well, they did that through a ledger entry, and the concept is citizens can do the same. Okay, so you write a ledger entry, you send it back to them and say we're clear. More in the video, more at Zero Hedge, and more at this link here on that topic. U.S. Mint, silver and gold sales. Gold sales still in the toilet. Silver sales not bad. They'll probably hit over 2 million. They already have this month, so decent month. Nothing like we've seen in the past, but gold sales still low. If you want to buy gold or silver, you can do so through the site. That's another way you can help the site out. It's not investment advice, but if you do buy through these links, BJSC, Gold Eagle Coin, SD Bullion, Money Metals Exchange, or at the links below this YouTube video, you will pay no more, no less than if you visited them directly, and Smaulgld gets a small commission. So you can check out the links in the banners, please. Now, a story in Bloomberg, investors are pouring money into silver ETFs. No kidding, look at that. Now, that's one of the ways I look at whether there's going to be a increase or decrease in the gold price, is I look at the COMEX trading based on what they call sentiment, or basically how many shorts are out there. and also what the inflows are in the silver ETFs, because my view is that the paper markets, the COMEX, and the ETF demand are what drives the price, not the actual physical demand out of India, the physical demand out of the mints or anything else. Basically, physical demand increases when the price decreases based on the paper price, and when the paper price increases, then physical demand decreases. So it looks like right now we're having people realize that silver, $15, $16 was a good price. The big money, investment money, is moving back into quote silver, but silver meaning ETFs. Not they're not going out and buying monster boxes or huge bars and stashing them in vaults in Switzerland. It's too expensive to do that. You want to buy any amount, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of silver. First of all, there isn't that much silver to buy, but if you want to buy silver exposure to the price, that's what they do. They buy these ETFs. Now, Samsung to recover rare metal components in Galaxy Note 7. So they mentioned that these 4.3 million Samsung phones is an environmental fiasco that may show us how to recycle phones. So we saw that Apple's Liam robot can take care of 1.2 million phones. Looks like Samsung has ambitious plans. They didn't show how they're going to do it, but they're going to try to extract some silver and gold and other rare elements from their phones, and it's a positive thing. I don't think it helps or hurts the silver market one way or the other. It's not a significant amount. Um, on the side of people saying that the silver demand for cell phones is huge, it's not. The fact that they may recover this silver, no big deal. It's really, as Apple notes, it's an environmental issue. It's not really a significant impact on the supply demand dynamic. It does take some supply, it does cut into the demand because that's silver that doesn't now have to be mined, but again, it's not a large amount. Whoa, that was a pretty quick run through there. Sorry, I apologize for that. All right. So there was a mini flash crash again in gold. Someone dumped, a lot. This happens all the time for it not to be, they call it fat finger. It can't happen. You don't accidentally sell thousands of contracts at 3 in the morning for no reason. Maybe once in 100 years, every once in 50 years, but every couple of months this happens. Nah, there's something definitely amiss there. Here's on the 18th, Coinbase reporting BIP 91 and Act Segwick while avoiding Bitcoin split, at least for now. Looks like some of the most of the miners said the hash rate is well over 80%. I think it's 97%, at least for the first portion of what's going on with Bitcoin. So that has regained confidence. They're not out of the woods yet. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks with Bitcoin and the impact that'll have on the entire cryptocurrency space. We also reported Russia. This doesn't get reported on much, but Russia just keeps adding gold. Now, maybe because people are realizing, or they don't even care, but that most of Russia's gold that they add to reserve, probably all of it, comes from their domestic mining production. So it's not like they're going out on the market and screwing up the market by buying all this gold on the open market. They're just buying it from a domestic supplier. And I think the rest of their domestic mining production, they sell to China. So this gold is kind of in isolation. However, it does give them a big position. You could check out all the Russian gold reserve charts at this link here, and also there's an explanation, a lot of charts in this video. Check that out, please. Yeah, here you go. Gold in them there seas. That's an old story. It's interesting. I'm not going to tell you what it's about. If you're interested, you can click on it. Now, Andrew Maguire's Bullion Bank Slayers revealed meet Bullion Coin. Well, I told you it was Bullion Coin 3 weeks ago, and I told you not only was it Bullion Coin or some other stupid crypto coin, but that it would have no impact whatsoever. First of all, there was no cryptocurrency is going to have demand for 250 tons. There's the Sharia law one that was a $500 million offering was going to require about 14 tons. Okay, Bullion coin is not going to require 250 sovereign size buy. First of all, even if it was, it's not going to buy them on one day. So there you go. I just don't, I didn't take it seriously when it came out. I still don't take it seriously. Any of you have seen the video I've done on large size physical buy won't shock the world. You realize I really don't take seriously when I see news from an organization that uses shock the world as a headline 7 times in a few months and nothing happens. So when this came up, I just didn't expect anything to happen from, but they're still insisting it's gonna happen. Okay, so there's gonna be a bullion coin. Big deal. Someone's gonna back a cryptocurrency with bullion. All right, they're not gonna buy 250 tons in a day, even if they did, which they would never do. No one's dumb enough to buy 250 tons of gold in a day. But after they bought it, the demand would go down. Then they'd have to try to sell all the coins that are backed by 250 tons. It doesn't even make sense. Even if it were to happen, it doesn't make sense that it might happen. But even if it did happen, all that would happen is the price would rise for a day, and then the demand would abate, and the price would go back down. Even if the physical demand actually impacted the price, which it doesn't. So the whole story, it doesn't make sense on just about any level you can possibly imagine. Bullion coin. All right. Let's see if there's anything else during the week. Yeah. Well, this one is just a recap of the foreigners loading up on U.S. Treasury. If you haven't seen it, there's charts on Russia, charts on China, charts on Saudis, all of the U.S. Treasuries that they're buying. Take a look at it. It goes totally against this dumping treasuries narrative, which was true a year and a half ago. But it's not true anymore. But that's not going to stop anyone from repeating it. This story will be ignored probably for another 6 months when it's so clear that for a year that foreigners are buying U.S. treasuries again. They'll have to come up with some new theory why they're buying. Oh, they're buying them so they can dump them. That'll be the next theory. They're buying treasuries so they can dump them. That's how they're going to crash the dollar. They're going to keep buying the dollar and dollar denominated assets so they can dump them. Okay. Let's see. Well, faster. This is the story on Fed's faster payment initiative leads to Fed coin. I won't go into this, but this just came out. Take a look at it. It is the Fed trying to say that the way they're not saying this. The head of the German Bundesbank said that if fiat currencies and central banks got their act together and did faster payments, people would just forget all about cryptocurrencies. Fed hasn't said that. Fed hasn't even said they're going to do a cryptocurrency like the Bank of England and Russia and China have hinted that they might. All the Fed is saying they want to do is create a task force, create faster payments. But as part of faster payments, you can't ignore that you might involve blockchain, cryptocurrencies, ledger-based technology, and indeed that is what the Fed is looking at. And one of the proposals is FedCoin, and you can check that out. I think the company's name, I don't remember what it was, but they suggested that the Fed issue basically a digital currency called, not called FedCoin, I think it was going to be called Fed Notes. In any event, you can check that out, and I think that's it for the week. Yes, it is. Well, thank you very much for listening, and please remember to like this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and subscribe to Smaulgld. Thank you.